further away than I. Cool. Good morning, everyone. If you could please find your seats, we will be starting in 5 minutes. Cool. Good morning, everyone. Oh, that's a definite. Is there another meet?
Yeah. Here's a
Oh, let me try that. That was funny. This is way further away, Todd, right here.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, brother. How you doing? Giving you a hug. Yeah. Good to see you.
5 minutes. Okay, this mic is better.
Yep.
All right. Hi, Dave. All right.
I didn't want to interrupt your techie stuff.
Oh,
Can I give you a
believe me.
hug?
Yeah, hi.
Hello,
You have such a large bag on your back. Hey, that's your turtle shell.
It is. It is my turtle shell, and in it, shockingly, are turtle shirts that, in case while I'm here, people want to
Buy one.
buy one, they can like do that.
Well, you can make that shameless plug for yourself.
I'm so shy. I'm so shy and introverted. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, you. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just like me.
Uh-huh.
How much are your shirts?
They are. If you buy, this is confusing, so bear with me. If you go on my website, they're $35. I have a
Ouch.
fee through PayPal.
Oh, that,
If
yeah.
you Venmo and go directly with me, they're $30.
Mm,
And all of the funds go towards my Race Across America, which starts
you go.
in June of next year.
And, okay, cool. Well, you can make your shameless plug.
I will do my shameless plug.
Awesome.
So I try to save people $5 by having them just Venmo me directly.
And folks these days and times, that'll get you a whole pack of gum. So that
It
is
will.
good.
I'm in favor of mandibular muscles being strengthened by packs of gum.
Mandibular muscle strengthened by muscle. We are so confused.
I know, it's gonna be beautiful.
Try not to say that.
I know, I don't know if mandibular is a word, but it sounds good.
It is. It absolutely is.
So that's to say, you mandibular is 5 more times in a sentence without people knowing what it is. Mandibular.
Not a good.
I've never been a good pilot. Yeah, yeah. I totally think.
It is 9 o'clock. Sandra, you want to give it 5 minutes?
Yeah, it sounds like there's still a lot of coming in.
Yeah.
I have quite a bit of housekeeping.
That's good.
Okay, we're going to give about 3 more minutes so that individuals can come in and find your seats. So 3 minutes.
It might be my fault, we have a line, because I honestly did say, I didn't, it's not,
I don't think so.
well, that's what. Well, I would, yeah.
Leftover,
Anyway,
medium leftover.
right,
But we need to eat. And a lot of time we need to.
right, when you can find that out from the internet. And then you learn. Oh, how that is breaking, so we can eat. And take it from out.
So I did.
If everyone who is registered could enter the room and get your seats, we want to try and get started with our program as close to 9 a.m. as possible. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. We always worry,
Right here. Who called Sandra? Sound like Laura. Laura? May I have your attention, please? Excuse me, may I have your attention, please? We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone to the National Federation of the Blind of Kentucky Technology Assistance Division Symposium, 11th Annual. Thank you all for being with us this morning. I am going to make quick work of my introduction this morning by limited to that. Turning it over to our MC, Sandra Williams. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, we're going to try this again because we want to get this incredibly awesome day off to a great start. Good morning, everyone. Oh, yay. Now I know that there is a happy, awake group out there. We have quite a bit of housekeeping we must get through before we have our first presenter. So hopefully I can get this all in. First of all, if you have a device that's going to make noise, i.e. cell phone, turn it off, please. Oh, I was going to get the please in there. Please turn that off. We'll be working with various technologies and things, and sometimes this can cause interference and feedback. You know, the feel you get on the airplane. So if you could silence those, that would be awesome. If you are in need of a restroom that is out of this room down the main hall on your right, there's a small alcove where the women's is located on the left. Deduction will say where the men's is. Anyway, we have one of the things we're doing today is a Newsline scavenger hunt. If you did not get the instructions and questions for that, I guess they're clues. They will be at the back of the room with Laura Stevens. Okay. We also have raffle tickets available. They're at the back of the room at this point. You should have been told about them at registration. Oh, they're not. All right. Well, Danielle Burton has raffle tickets. Now, those raffle tickets are $2 a piece or $3 for $5. The top prize, or well, the only prize, $100 as well as an Echo show. So that's a pretty cool prize. And only $5 will get you 3 chances at winning that. Let's see. Wristbands. Your wristband is a very important thing if you are intending to eat. Please have the wristband on your arm. If you registered, not at the door, but pre-registered on your computer or your phone, if you pre-registered and signed up for lunch, you must have a wristband to claim that lunch. No wristband, no lunch. Pretty straightforward. I don't know what color the wristbands are today, but it's the first one, green. Okay, so make sure you have that on your arm so when you go through to get your lunch, folks will know. Now, I'm not sure of lunch and logistics just yet, but I will be announcing those a bit closer to time of of getting that lunch. I hope that'll be all the information I give you right now, because we want to get on with this agenda. Today's agenda is packed with information for all of us. We can all use everything we're going to hear. And first of all, we are going to hear from an individual who has been with us for 10 years. Notice I didn't say 10 long years, but he has been with us for 10 years at these symposiums. And each and every year he comes, he explains to us, it might be technology, it might be, well, today we are going to learn about apps, applications, accessible, how to get your exercise on. I probably need to hear this one. We now know this individual as the Speedy Turtle. And so I am happy and delighted to present to you Mr. Dave Wilkinson.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is a very exciting opportunity for me for a number of reasons. One, because when I was thinking about this a week ago, at this time, at this very moment, 1 week ago today, my tandem captain and I were pedaling through Tennessee on the Natchez Trace, which is a 444-mile trail, and we had 44 hours to finish it to qualify for a race that I want to do next year. And we finished it in 31 hours, 5 minutes. But at this exact moment, a week ago, it was raining. It was kind of cloudy, and we were still in that, oh my God, what are we doing out here type thing. And so it was and I just kept thinking, if I can still stand up, next Friday, I'll be at the Technology Symposium. And so I'm still here. So it worked out really well. But we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to do things a little bit differently this morning. I do want to talk about my tandem cycling ride thing. One, because I'm still jacked up on caffeine and sugar from Red Bull and all the stuff that I burned 17,000 calories during that race. Isn't that crazy? And then we're going to talk about sort of the accessibility of some of the systems that I use. And then we're going to get into some of the apps in general that are free to low cost that you can use to help with exercise every day. And now is when I lower the bar. I have a system that I use because I have very set goals, and it's you know how when you I came across a thing about Stephen Hawking years ago that said he was hesitant to ever try anything to update like the way in which he communicated because he was afraid everything would crash. That's how I feel about the accessibility of my system. I have so much at stake here that I have to be dragged kicking and screaming into trying anything new. And the reason that I'm telling you this is that you may have more current information than me because I have a system that works and I refuse to let it go. So with that being said, I do want to talk about this ride for a second because it was an incredible experience. We rode for 31 hours straight. We would take very brief breaks. We had a crew, and the crew was insanely busy. If you ever want to, my poor younger sister brought all this crocheting and books on tape and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, we'll have loads of time. She never looked at it. They were constantly feeding us, charging iPhones, charging computers, charging smart helmets that can communicate with each other, conveying times to race organizers. It was go, 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 go. At 2 a.m., we stopped and forced ourselves to try to sleep for an hour, and then we were back on the road again a little bit after 3 a.m. Saturday morning. It was a gorgeous night last Friday night. There was a harvest moon. You could hear all the frogs and the crickets and just the night sounds, and it was absolutely magical. And it reminded me of why I go out and punish myself to see what we can do. And the point of this race this last weekend, besides just being really entertaining to see if you can ride 444 miles and still walk afterward, is next summer. And I'm telling you this because I want something from you. I always want something. I used to be in sales, which means I always want things. Next summer, my tandem captain and I will become the first tandem solo team, meaning to do the entire course, with a blind rider on the bike to do a race that's called Race Across America. It's a 3,000-mile race. You start in Oceanside, California. You finish in Annapolis, Maryland. You go through the Rockies. You go through the Appalachians. You do lots of climbing. It's something like 170,000 vertical feet of climbing before you finish. It just sounds painful. This was a qualifying race that said that we can officially do this. We will become the first tandem bike. There's only been 10 tandem bikes to complete this as a solo project. All of them had visual people on the front and the back so they could switch off and go with whoever the strongest rider was. We're not going to. I will not be allowed to be in front, even though I think it would be really fun. Fewer people have completed this race that have climbed Mount Everest. So we are immensely excited about it, or at least I am. I'm not sure about my wife, but she's at least along for the ride. And so this qualified us for Race Across America. We start June the 11th. We will finish by June the 22nd because you get 12 days. At a minimum, you have to do 250 miles a day. We're hoping for closer to 300. Now, all this being said, this is what I need from you. We have a Facebook page. I want numbers because as I increasingly go along and as I get corporate sponsors from this, they want to know about numbers of people that you're reaching. And so even if you're not all that interested in it, you can take 12 seconds and go to my website, speedyturtle.net. And on that website, there's a link to our Facebook group where you can join Speedy Turtle Races Across America. And it's really pretty entertaining. When you get into the world of endurance athletics, you discover that endurance athletes are idiots. And as a result, you have to be. And it turns out to be a lot of fun as a result. My wife says it's like preparing for infants, except that the infants have gotten bigger because you have all this stuff that you want at the exact time that you want it, and everything has to be in the right place, and you're just, and you whine and complain if you don't get exactly what you want when you want it. And she's just like, it's like taking care of babies, sweaty ones. So speedyturtle.net. I do have Speedy Turtle Race Across America t-shirts on the site. They are $35 if you go through PayPal. If you get in touch with me directly and use Venmo, I can knock $5 off and go with $30. All of the proceeds go towards our budget. This is about a $30,000 endeavor. We're paying for it as we go. So if you would like to wear a Speedy Turtle Races Across America shirt, you can go to our website, speedyturtle.net, not .com, but .net, and we are right there. Also, before anyone has a chance to ask, Ironman is coming back to Louisville. It's a half Ironman. Yes, I'm doing it at 6 weeks after Race Across America. So I will get back from Race Across America, and 6 weeks later, we'll do a half Ironman triathlon because it's Louisville and you can't miss your home city for a race. How is that for a commercial? Now, but you just get, you're like, oh my God, we really did this. Right after the race, you're just like, can someone help me to my feet? But as the days go on, you look back and you're just like, whoa, that was insane. But so anyway, the way that I do this, and this will lead into accessible apps, et cetera, that you're using. I've ridden close to 7,500 miles this year so far on a bike. All but 1,000 of that have been on a smart bike in my basement. And what I mean by a smart bike, it is a street bike that's it's not even a particularly good bike, but it doesn't have to be because it's going to go nowhere. It's hooked up to a smart trainer, a device called a Wahoo Kicker. And because athletes can't spell, it's Kickr. We leave out the E because you're putting in the effort, I guess. I don't know. And the way that this works, and I'm going into this to sort of explain to some of the accessibility hurdles and challenges that I've run into over the years with triathlons and endurance athletics, and then we'll kind of work backward. I have a training coach because I don't want to have to figure out my workouts every day because I'm liable to think, oh, today let's go easy. And I have a training coach who is a sadist who never goes easy and is always looking for opportunities to make things harder and more miserable. And I pay him for this. But I have to be able to get data to my training coach. So my smart trainer, the Wahoo Kicker, has basically a computer built into it. My coach sends workouts through an app called Training Peaks that we are not going to put in the accessible apps category because it sucks. But it's what he uses in order to write my workouts. And I wanted to try to cooperate with him. So I'm like, yay, we'll use Training Peaks, but I don't like Training Peaks. So then I needed something that was going to transfer the workout from Training Peaks to the bike itself. And I found an app called Trainer Road, which is fabulously accessible. And if you ever get into any of these it's fabulously accessible to the point that yesterday I noticed in the updated notes they put out just like a new software version every week to fix bugs. They had fixed a voiceover bug in being able to rate your ride and tell you how difficult it was. And anytime I see voiceover featured in the updates for the week, I get really, really happy. They are insanely interested in making this app as accessible as possible to all. It is not free. Trainer Road, I think I spend $79 a year, so it's not outrageous, but it is not free, whereas some of the ones that we talk about later on are. And what Trainer Road does is it grabs the workout from Training Peaks. About now, you're like, I don't care. And it puts that workout into my bike and it sets all the resistance for me. And we do a lot of power measurements and stuff. And at that point, I lose all control of the bike. So that if it happens to be a really hard hill and I want to make it easier, too bad to be Dave. And during this time, the smart trainer is recording data. I have a heart rate sensor. It's recording my heart rate. It's recording how fast I'm pedaling, how much power I'm exerting, etc. And as soon as the workout is over, all of that data is sent to Training Peaks and my coach gets it as a spreadsheet. So it's a lot happening so that I can sweat. And it was not particularly easy to put together, but it is a beautiful way of putting this type of stuff together. So if you are starting to think to yourself, I would love to get involved in triathlons, and there are a number of triathlons in the Louisville area. Triathlon is swimming, biking, and running. For the biking part of this, and even to some extent for the running part of this, depending on your equipment, this is a fantastic app to use. Again, it's called Trainer Road. Its website is trainerroad.com. It is the absolute backbone of what I use in my existence. When I am riding outside, which has only been about 1,000 miles, it's so ridiculous to say it's only been about 1,000 miles this year outside. So anyway, and you just pop these things off and you're like, oh, that didn't make any sense. But I use an app called Strava. Anyone in here use Strava before? Yay! Then you know that Strava. What's one of the best parts about Strava? It's free. Yay, free! And it is wonderfully accessible on your Apple Watch and on your phone. And it will measure the distance that you have run, cycled, etc. And yes, you can use your Apple workout stuff for this. I like Strava. I find that the distances are a bit more accurate. Strava also measures power, so that you can see like how many watts you're exerting when you're pedaling. And so I find the data from Strava to be a bit more complete when my coach wants to know things like my average heart rate, which again, I could also get from Apple workouts, but which is also free, all the fitness stuff within Apple. And it's fair to say at this point that most of what I'm talking about here is on the Apple side of things. I am an unabashed supporter of the Appleverse because it allows for fewer things to break than on the Android side, whereas an open system, I find something that works on the Android side, and then tomorrow someone's broken it, and then I have to curse and I have to yell, and I get mad. My wife gets woken up, and it's just not pleasant. Because it'll be on a weekend, and she's like, "Be quiet! I'm trying to sleep." So a lot of what I'm talking about is with the Appleverse side of things. I use my iPhone is an iPhone 13. I'll probably be using this iPhone 13 for a couple more years. I updated with the idea of getting 3 or 4 years of use out of it. The watch that I use, and you do not have to go to extremes like I did. I got an Apple Watch Ultra because I needed the battery to last as long as humanly possible. For sane workouts, you will not need that. This is another shameless plug. If anyone happens to be looking for a really cheap Apple Watch SE to get into the Apple Watch world, I have one I'll let go for really cheap. It's in beautiful condition. It's almost never been used. Do what? Oh, I thought somebody said something from the back. So if you want to, if you're looking for a beautiful Apple Watch that will help with your exercise goals, contact Speedy Turtle. But I keep track of a lot of the metrics on my watch as we're going along, how far I've gone, my heart rate. You can keep track of things like the elevation, how much you've biked or you've run uphill, which is always interesting to know. It doesn't tell you how far you've gone downhill because it figures in the end it's all going to be flat. And, but it's really kind of interesting. Like in this 444 miles, we did 10,000 feet of climbing this last weekend, and it felt it. So you can get an awful lot for, and you can find used Apple Watches for pretty cheap on eBay. You routinely see some of the older models for $100 or less. And I realize $100 is a heck of a lot of money out there. I don't just toss that figure out, but it beats paying full retail price, which is several $100 higher than that. One of the other apps that I use, and actually to skip back, if you want to try something accessible, and I haven't seen if this will work in the hotel this weekend, so you can all crowd to the desk at once and find out, but it should work. Peloton, if you're trying to get like a smart bike or a smart treadmill or a smart rowing machine, Peloton devices are accessible. They all have Android tablets on them. You can turn the speech on with volume down, volume up for 3 seconds, and it will turn your speech on. You can also launch any of the other accessibility features that you're used to with an iOS or Android device, including low vision features, assistive touch, etc. And you have all the features available on Peloton devices. And because you're staying at a Hilton property, Hiltons have Pelotons in their exercise rooms. And if they don't, they should. Although if they don't come back and yell at me, that's not my department at Hilton. I do work there, but that's the franchise people's responsibility to get their Pelotons. But so swarm the exercise rooms this weekend and see if you can get the Peloton to work. There are also treadmills and bikes and rowing machines that will work with Apple Fit. Apple Fit is just your direct fitness program through Apple. You can see all of your data. On some of the fancier ones, you can do things like control the speed, etc. I do not like to change speed using my phone because I'm sweaty and I'll drop it and I'll smash the screen and then I get mad. So I still advise that you get something that has tactile buttons on it. Precor makes a number of treadmills that have tactile buttons. So does Proforum. What am I trying to think of? Proforum. I think it's Proforum, Proform. And if I'm wrong, send me an email at dave@speedyturtle.net and I will happily look it up and figure out how I'm wrong. The treadmill that I use is made by a company called True Fitness. It does not actually have tactile buttons, but it was very easy to braille using just a braille labeler, or actually I used a slate and labeling tape. And what I love about my True Fitness treadmill is it has an app called Run Fit, where I can use an app through Wahoo, the people that make my Wahoo kicker, and the treadmill will tell it how far I've gone. If I grip the treadmill little sensors, it'll give me my heartbeat. It'll give me my average miles per hour. And so it gives me a lot of the data that I need when I'm working for triathlons. And that treadmill now is about 7 or 8 years old and it's still going strong. So I can vouch for the quality of devices by True Fitness. At this point, what I would really like to do, instead of continuing to jabber on about apps that I use, I would really like to hear from other people, because this is what makes up my universe. And I know that I am not completely current. I have no interest in being completely current, because I have a system that I can't break. If I break my system and if I can't train, then I get behind in my schedule. And so I have a vested interest in keeping my system sort of the way that it is. But I know that there are other things that are out there. So, and I guess one other thing just to toss out, you can still find Concept 2 rowers. Anybody got a Concept 2 rower? No? Oh man, they're super. You do? Do you use it with like the erg data where you can see how far you've gone? Okay, this is the beauty of it. Do you have an iPhone? You do not need to see it. There's an app called erg data, IRG data, that you can download, and you can hook up your phone to your Concept 2 rower via Bluetooth, and it will show you all of your data on your iPhone. It will do it. So is mine. Mine is about 8 years old. And it will do it. Right, Dave at speedyturtle.net, and we will get you directions on how to do it. I can't see either, and I should have pointed that out in the beginning. I'm about as blind as they get. I'm sitting up here reading notes off of a Braille display. So, but it's a fantastic app and it's free. It will also let you update the firmware of your rower. Dave at speedyturtle.net. And anyone can write with that with any questions about anything in the known universe. I won't answer anything. That's not true. I'll answer anything. If I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. I will point out ahead of time that I've made it up. And if it actually has to do with something like sports, there's a good chance that I might actually know what I'm talking about. With all that being said, I really want to hear what other people are using, what's working for you, what's not working for you. And I know Joe had a couple of really great ideas from last year, not to pick on you, Joe, but it's always fun. So what are other apps that people are using in order to, and I guess before we get into that, you don't have to actually use apps. You can get resistance bands for $25 off of Amazon, and do exercise where you're just stretching using resistance bands. I encourage people that if you're just getting into exercise, start with some of the real basics. Just go up on your toes and come down to the balls of your feet while you're making toast in the morning. You can start with real basic stuff that will be exercise, that'll get you up and moving. Set a step goal for the day, and then you can keep track of your steps on any of your devices, whether it's a Fitbit. You can get Fitbits for as low as what, $49. Your Apple device will keep track of steps. Your Android device will keep track of steps. You can just get a step counter to keep track of steps and set a goal, and then just see if you can beat it. It's as simple as of when you're in the beginning of doing things like taking stairs instead of elevators. Those stairs start to add up after a while. And you'll find that does some killer work on your quads. But again, instead of just going on and on, I'd love to hear what some folks out there are using. So this is where we get into free form, which degenerates into chaos, which is where I love things. So let's do it. Who wants to volunteer about what apps they're using out there? I've got lots of time. I'm sitting here looking at this erg data. Erg data will also work for cross-country. The Concept 2 people have a cross-country ski simulator. It'll also work for cross-country ski simulation. Part of what's really neat about exercise equipment at this point is you do have a lot of choices. And one of the things that I can't encourage you strongly enough, if you go to a Schellers or a fitness place or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, this works with Apple Fit, make them do it. They're getting a commission. Make them hook it up to your Apple, your device, whether it's Apple, Android, whatever. Make them do it. I don't buy much equipment offline for that reason, so that I can go in and I can actually make someone set it up so that I know before I leave here that it's going to work beautifully for me. And what you'll find a lot of the time is they actually get kind of interested in their stuff, and they're like, "Whoa, I didn't know it could do that." Once you add voiceover to it. So anyway, Now we're back to the scary part of the day. Accessible exercise equipment. Yes, you just did. Okay, I'm such a jerk. I told you I'm jacked up on Red Bull. Fitbit has an app that you can download from the Apple Store called Fitbit. Um, sorry, but that's what you actually link it to. The Fitbit itself is nothing more than something about the size of, it's a little thing, and all it does is it's actually a pretty stupid device. All it does is transmit data to your phone that figures it out. Absolutely. You're saving me by answering questions. The question is if I've considered competing in an event called the Hour, and this is where I run into trouble, lots and lots of trouble. I haven't heard of it. Just like I had never heard of Race Across America until after a swim one morning when someone's like, hey, have you ever thought about doing something patently absurd like riding across the country in 12 days or under? And I'm like, yes, that's me. So this is where I get into trouble. Now I have to go and look up the Hour, and if it looks painful enough, I'll be there. Ooh, this is going to be fun. This won't even involve money, which will make my wife happy. My poor wife. The question is if I've read the book Endure by Alex Hutchinson, and the answer is yes. And there are lots of fantastic books on Bookshare and on National Library Service that endurance athletes have written. One of these days, I intend to write one, maybe. My younger sister wants me to write it with me and my childhood imaginary friend writing alternate chapters. And we might end up doing that. I think my imaginary playmate might know a lot more about what actually was going on than I do. He seems to have a better grip on reality. So one of these days we might do that. That's awesome. And here's a follow-up for you. There was a company that existed a number of years ago called Blind Alive. All of their stuff is public domain at this point, which is really unfortunate because they weren't able to keep the business model going. I have it all at this point because it's public domain. I'm sure it's out on the internet as well, but if you send me an email at dave@speedyturtle.net, I will send you all of the workouts and exercises that Blind Alive had, and they just had lots of really fantastic core body exercises, doing things like working with exercise balls, doing leg lifts and sit-ups and just breaking things down to a real basic level. There's also an amazing series called Blind Yoga. I do not know if it is still available. I am sure that it is, but it will take you through in almost excruciating detail a lot of the basics of poses for yoga. I would be the first to admit that I don't do enough yoga. I'm usually not stretched out enough, and I usually pay for that later. That's one of the things that I've sworn to do after this big race is now over, and now that we're training for Race Across America, is actually get a bit more limber. And so shoot me an email, since I'm busy jabbering and I don't write anything down well when I'm jabbering, to let me know who the YouTuber is with that. Dave@speedyturtle.net. I've heard that if you repeat things enough, people remember it. Dave@speedyturtle.net. Other tips that people have for folks, questions, thoughts, comments, how you're keeping in shape, or goals that you would like to set, would love to hear them. The lady is talking about bone conduction headphones, which are a godsend because you can actually hear what's going on around you because you're conducting sound through your bones, which creeps me out, but it works. And the other thing about bone conduction headphones is they tend to be really durable, so that I sweat a lot, which is really gross. And it doesn't tend to bother the bone conduction headphones. So huge fan of bone conduction headphones. Terry is recommending a Nordic Track treadmill that has buttons and is very accessible to use. And I've used Nordic Track treadmills. I'm glad that they're still making really accessible treadmills. And don't forget, even if you can't read the display, which I can't when it's over, if you want data, this is why we have things like Be My Eyes. And you can call some random dude in their car and have them look at your, and have them look at your treadmill display and tell you the data, and then they'll feel really bad about sitting in their car at a traffic light. I do it all the time. It's almost kind of entertaining. This would also be a really good chance for me to, again, a shameless plug. One of the sponsors that is linked up with me is Envision. They do have the Envision glasses, but they also have the free app that you can use on your phone that would also read your treadmill display. Wasn't that a cool segue on how to work that in where it was relevant? They've been incredibly useful for me, and I was using the Envision glasses during the bike ride this last weekend just to get it to tell me what was around. And which was a lot of fun because it just told me there were a bunch of bushes and trees, which was pretty much it. But it was really cool to be able to get that information through artificial intelligence. Other thoughts or questions? All of you at this point are like, no, be quiet. We got a break coming up. Do what? I am not on Instagram, and I need to be. I'm a social media Neanderthal. I wouldn't even do it, except that I've been told I have to. I'm lucky I'm on Facebook. If you would like to become my social media coordinator and help me set up an Instagram account, let's talk afterward. Awesome. Yay. All right. Speedy Turtle's we're about to crawl onto Instagram. For what it's worth, the reason it's Speedy Turtle is that's what you feel like sort of at the end. You're like, I'm still moving. I'm not going too fast, but it is speedy for a turtle. So that's sort of where the whole Speedy Turtle thing came from. Other thoughts or questions before you're like, no, just sit down. I'm not really good at that.
Are you going to be around after this thing? How are you going to?
I will. I love that question. I do have some with me. I will be here after this segment. I have to leave at about 11. The reality of my life at this point is that I have to work every day I can possibly work so that I can save up days off so that I can get paid while I put myself through torture next summer. But I will be here right after this segment. I do have shirts with me. I have large, extra large, and a couple of extra large with me. I have small and mediums at home. These are available through the website. you can also email me and we'll make arrangements for it. I also have a very limited supply, not available on the website because I just got them hats that say Speedy Turtle Races Across America, Turtles Forever. Hats are $25. And I realize some of these costs are higher than you want them to be. It's because the numbers that I'm buying in are like the tens instead of like the hundreds and thousands. But yes, I will be here right afterwards, and I'm always happy to take money. I'm so not proud. All right, Sandra is off to the left. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much. It is always a privilege to be here. And when I am here next year, I will have completed Race Across America. So thank you all very much. Sign up for our Facebook group, speedyturtle.net. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. Here you go.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, is why Dave is one of our favorite presenters at the symposium. I read some. Yeah, it is totally okay for you all to express yourselves in here with applause, so that our presenters can feel the appreciation. I read somewhere that it takes 21 days to build a habit. So hopefully after that presentation, we can find ways to increase our exercise habits. And only 21 days we may not be able to speed across America, but we will be able to do something that's healthy for us. Always ask your physician if engaging in an exercise program is the right thing for you, and no doctor is going to tell you no. All right, we're going to change tact a little bit. I hear lots of talking. Okay, so I'm going to talk too. This is just mainly for the folks in the room who can see. You've probably noticed I'm up here and I'm fiddling around on my phone. I'm not watching YouTube. I am using my technologies to look at my notes and agenda. So I just wanted to, sometimes, you know, we think about people who are looking at their phones and seem otherwise engaged. I'm only engaged in the present and what we're doing here today. And I've got my old technology of my handy dandy Braille. Now we're going to change, Braille. We're going to change our direction a little bit. Might I have your attention, please? I don't have a gavel, but I've got a hand. I know, there should be one. We're going to change tact. Phil, are we ready with the Zoom? Okay, great. Now we have a presentation that will, I know for me, it was something new. We are going to now hear from a representative of OCO. Now that is a way that you, oh, I'm sorry. We can do that. Laura, now door prizes, we are giving door prizes throughout the symposium. If you are the winner of the door prize, you must be in the room to claim it. If you are outside that door, it is yours, no more. So Laura, who do we have? Oh. I'm sorry. Why? Well. Okay. You may be wondering why there is chatter and a pause here. Our next presenter is not from the United States. So he is in another part of the world on another time zone. I'm not sure if it's yesterday or tomorrow there, could still be today, but a totally different time. So we're waiting for him to get on the Zoom. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen at lunchtime. We have folks who are prepared to present us things that we can come and examine or talk to them about. And all of that is going to take place in this head table portion of the room. To my left, which will be your right, there will be a TAD table. And at that TAD table, you will find text. Wow, I did that. Well, at the TAD table, you will find techs who can help you if you're experiencing a problem, if you have questions about what TAD does, and if you want to know, because we have let's see if I can say this well, a TAD's trips and tips. That's a lot of T's, every month. And we just started that a couple of months ago. It has been extremely successful. But what we do in that time, usually 7 p.m. on a Monday evening, last week we talked about JAWS and all those menus and how to get it started and how to set your verbosity, all of those things. So if any of you want to know more about a particular thing, you can go to the TAD table and let them know. And they're prepared to, do presentations on the iPhone or advanced iPhone or just getting started iPhone, Android, whatever your technology need be, just give us that suggestion. You can do that at the table. So you can work your way around these tables. They will be at the front of the room. They will be set up during lunchtime. I think presenters can start setting up around 11. So just give them a few minutes to get themselves together, and you can do that during lunch. There will also be another section of time this afternoon that you can experience this. Oh, no. Wow. Okay, so might as well, since we're here, have another door prize. I will too, because one of mine went down. Oh, I'm not in it, sorry. Awesome. Congratulations. I would like to welcome you. I'd like to give a special welcome to the staff and students from Vocational Rehab Blind Services Division. I'd like to personally welcome you all. Hi, former coworkers. As a lot of you know, I'm retired and loving all that. But special welcome. Okay, change in agenda. One thing about life, there's always a change, and we can flow with that change. Our next presenter is going to be someone we all know and some of us appreciate way more than others. Sorry, Abby. When it comes to messing up our tech. We are going to, and I didn't get to read my notes before, Joe, so I'm really winging it, and one of my wings seems a little limp. But I am going to introduce to you Joe Hodge from the American Printing House for the Blind. He has been a longtime presenter to the symposium, and see, you all know Joe, so I'm turning it over to Joe.
Sure. All right. Good morning, everyone. So let me get my monarch on the table here. There we go. So last night I had the privilege to go to a screening of All the Light We Cannot See. All the Light We Can See, whatever. Cannot See. There it is. Yeah. On Netflix. It's a thing debuting November 2nd. And I bring it up because the two actresses that played the blind lady in the TV series are actually blind or low vision. And I say that with the device I have in front of me, the Monarch, because, you know, it's a device that is going to change how education is viewed. Okay. Hey, Willem, I know you're on Zoom. We'll be with you in about, give me about a half hour. So I apologize. So with that ability, the Monarch is sitting in front of me here. It's a 10-line Braille display, 32 characters wide, and also does tactile graphics. So I reflected last night while sitting there watching All the Light We Cannot See, thinking about how far, you know, in society we've come as blind individuals, and the fact that we're actually being casted as actors and actresses is just amazing to me. And I think with this device here, it's going to set a generation of kids that are able to look at tactile graphics every day of their life. So this morning, I actually pulled up an outline of Kentucky and I saved it to the device so you all can come by the table and look at it. And it's just the power of being able to do that is going to, I think, change how kids view photos and images and just how they visually think of things. So so I often start this presentation off, I started off a little different than normal, but the why we build it is the vision that education, things have to change. You know, I still deal with kids coming out of high school when I teach them JAWS, just in my personal time, that don't know how to format. You know, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not the greatest formatter either. The ability on this device to be able to see if things are centered, if things are in a bulleted list, it just makes the world a difference. And kids are going to have that from a young age until they graduate school. And I just think that that's going to be so powerful in the long run of being able to know how your document actually looks. So I'm going to kind of go through what the Monarch is. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a 10-line Braille display, 32 characters wide. I'm going to describe the unit to you. So when you come over, you have an idea of what you're looking at. It's about the size of a gaming laptop. So it's about 4.5 pounds. I carry it in my normal bag. So it's not like, it is a bigger device, but it's not like super huge, you know. It's not going to be our traditional 40-cell Braille display size, but it is going to be carryable. The battery life on it is about 24 hours right now, which is impressive. The left-hand side of the device has a power button. It also has a USB-A to plug in thumb drives and a USB-C to plug into the computer or to charge the device. On the right-hand side is a HDMI. And then we have 2 volume buttons. So the thing I'm actually going to show you all today, you're about the first people outside of the APH annual meeting that's happening this week. We've added speech to the Monarch now. So you have Braille and speech. And so on the front of the device, you have the traditional sort of Perkins style keyboard. Or Braille keyboard, Perkins is trademarked. I can't say that. So y'all didn't hear that. Braille keyboard, and the orange action button, we call it. There's also a zoom in and zoom out key. There's two directional crosses like D-pads, one on the left, one on the right. So depending on how you're reading an orientation, you can use whichever you prefer. There's also a page up and page down key. So on this, traditional Braille displays, you have cursor routing keys to move your cursor. We don't have those on this because there's 10 lines, right? So what we've decided, and we have two ways that you can navigate. The only way you're going to be able to see is the first way that I'll tell you today. So you can do what we call point and click. So I can literally take my finger, put it somewhere on the Braille character, and then double tap the action button, and my cursor will move there. The second way is just double tapping like you would do on your iPhone. It's been we're in beta still, so it's been a little hit and miss on if that works or not. But that is going to be the way we will do that. So traditionally, like iPhones or Android devices have what's called capacitive touch under the screen. So as you touch it, it knows exactly where your hand is. We don't use that technology. We're using a laser on the top of the device. That's actually like using waves to kind of see where your hands are. So that's why the double tap has been a little finicky. But we'll get it figured out before it comes out to all of you all or to the kids. So speaking of that, where we are in the process of things, we are going to be sending out 200 units in total to students for the next year. So we're going to do heavy field testing. Typically at APH, we test with about 10 people. So this is unprecedented what we're getting into with the Monarch. So it's going to go out to 200 different teachers and kids, and we're going to get feedback from them because we want to hear all the challenges that they're facing and all of the issues that arise. So the question you might be asking, Joe, how much is this going to cost? So the answer to that is 15 to 20,000. Now, for kids, we are actively looking into the idea that this would replace the Braille book. So Braille books, for anyone who doesn't know, can cost anywhere between $10,000 and $40,000 per subject, and that's per kid. So like we have an English book that we sell at APH that's 50 volumes, and it's $40,000. Because of the time it takes for transcribers to transcribe the book and then go through and do all the binding, putting the book together. And what also happens with that is kids get their books 6 months late, right? They're literally are halfway through their semester before they're getting their Braille book. And what we're hoping is the Monarch reduces that time to fingertips. So instead of taking 6 months, because they don't have to do the binding, because they're not having to do all this extra work, it might take something like a month and a half. So we are actually, I'm in the process right now myself of testing a new format for the Monarch, which APH is heavily involved with, along with the DAISY consortium, called the electronic Braille ready format. So most people probably have heard of a BRF. So the BRF is great. It's been awesome for the last probably 30 years. However, it hasn't transformed any because it's meant for an embosser. So, like if you download a Bookshare book, you have to do find and then begin title, right? And get through all that Bookshare stuff. And then you have to get through the table of contents. And so there's all this stuff that you have to do. It's not very intuitive. So what we're going to do is make the electronic Braille ready format available where it's going to be much more like an EPUB. So you're going to be able to click on links and get to your chapter. If there's images in a book, you're going to be able to click on that and go in and view the image right on the device. So it's going to be a much better process for students. And not only are we going to be supporting that, your other Braille manufacturers are going to be supporting it as well. So things like Duxbury, things like Humanware, Vispero, etc. So it's really great that the whole community is kind of rallying around this because BRF really does need some love. And, students should be able to read the same way that anybody else reads. And the fact that we have sort of just, I guess, like a dumb file still in 2023 amazes me. But I'm going to talk a little bit now about the main menu of the device. So when you turn on the Monarch, the one cool thing that happens is you actually see a Monarch butterfly on the screen. So you can feel its wings. You can feel the shape of the butterfly, and it's really cool. So right away, you automatically this device is different from anything you've seen before. So in the main menu, we have starting at the top, we have a Braille editor. So and I'm gonna put the microphone up maybe to the speaker. I don't know if that's gonna really come through. It's not really picking up. But there's speech here. So at the very top, you have Braille editor. So that's going to be your sort of whatever you put in Braille with no translation. You have a tactile viewer. So that's going to be where you view images and also have access to the Tactographics image library. You have a word processor, which is going to be keyword. So folks who use Braille notes are going to be very familiar with that. We have a file manager. And then we have a Victor Reader program. So that's going to be where any of your Bookshare, NLS content is going to be stored. And then we have all apps. So that's going to be anything else that you'd want to put on this device. Or any of those apps I just mentioned are also in there. This does update over Wi-Fi. And the really nice thing in viewing this as I've gone. So I'm 37, went through public school. Didn't have a lot. I probably used 5 tactographics maybe my whole school life. Maybe there was a little bit more, but the thing that I'm learning as I use this more and more and more is my memory of things. So I looked at the Amazon logo, the McDonald's arches, and now when someone says those logos, I think about them. I think about knowing what they feel like. Recently, someone showed me a picture of Batman's logo on his chest, where you can feel like the wings and the it's so cool. I've never seen that before, and it's one of those things that just stands out, as something like, wow, this is powerful. So, the thing that we're looking to do right now as we get into field testing is we are looking at what's it going to be like taking a book, doing homework, so you have multiple things going on at one time. And that's what we're looking for feedback on. The really cool thing on this device, I mentioned the zoom out, zoom in. So we have 10 lines. You heard me say at the top. So with the zoom out, zoom in feature, just in normal use, you can actually you can zoom out and get to like down to 6 lines, or you can have all 10 on the screen. And what that does is allows you to have more spacing. So if you're a beginning Braille reader, I don't know if anybody in here is newly learning Braille, but if you are, you may know that like spacing is hard at first, right? Like knowing how on paper where the next line is, like doing all that tracking can be a little frustrating at first until you get the hang of it. So with this device, you don't have to be looking at all 10 lines at one time. You can go down to 6, or you could be at 8. So it allows you to change the lines per page, which is also really nice. The device is very fast, so each refresh is about a second. So it takes more time to go from the bottom of the page to the top with my fingers than it does to refresh, which is really great. The one downside to the technology that we have right now is you can't have your fingers on it while it's refreshing. Otherwise, the pins will not come up or set properly. Now, what we do have, though, is the ability to know when your hand lifts up and it will automatically reset. So that it's one of the just downsides to the technology that we're using. But at the end of the day, to get a device this size and with true Braille spacing, we had to make a few compromises, and that was one of them. I've gotten used to it, to be honest, but it is a little differing in the beginning. The other thing is on the device that I haven't mentioned yet, you can dump a Coke on this device and it would survive. We have tested that. It's a little nerve-wracking, because it's a $20,000 device, and they're like, just dump this Coke on it. And I'm like, okay. And it has a membrane on it. You do have to replace the membrane about every semester. So, about every 4 months or so. And you just take some screws, and there's like 4 screws, you unscrew it, and then you can replace it. But the trade-off is that, you know, kids eating chips or drinking Coke, they're not going to ruin the Braille display, which is good and necessary in the school system. So one of the final things I kind of want to talk about is the idea of putting this all together. So I started off talking about last night's experience, but I'm going to talk about something that happened at Bell over the summer. The Bell program, Sandra, Laura, Angela, they all do a really great job, and they bring kids in for a summer camp. I think it's 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, a week. Yeah. And I've gone the last several years to speak. And I had the Monarch this year, and I had a picture up, and I passed it around, and I asked the kids, and they vary in age from, elementary to middle school. And I asked the kids if they could tell me what was on the screen. You know, and I got horse. So I'm not gonna tell you what it is yet, but I had a lot of great people with ideas. But this one kid really surprised me when he said camel. And that's what it was. It was a camel. And I thought to myself, here's this child who's been blind like I was. And I gave him this image, and he knew it. And I said, how did you know it? He said, I felt the humps. And I just think that's so amazing to think about. Sometimes I show this device to folks my age or older, and some of the response I get is, well, I'll never have one. It doesn't do a lot. It's not going to do enough for me. And that's fine. Like, I've kind of come away from that conversation. You know, sometimes I get frustrated, but sometimes I have to think, well, I mean, if I didn't work at APH, I wouldn't have one either, right? I mean, I wouldn't have $20,000 to buy a device like this, personally. Abby would not let me do that either. So, but the thing I come back to, and I think about often, is myself as a child, you know, and the kid aspect. You know, could we have photographers? Could we have somebody who understands the idea of how an image looks and how they want things to be artists? You know, things like that the door has been so closed for so long. And there are a few people that do these things, you know, like last night, seeing those actresses. You know, it just, I think we're in a situation where going forward, we're going to actually see people do things we've never seen before. And I think that devices like this, I want to have 4 or 5 of them out there. So we're the first to really do Braille and tactographics together. There's been other tactographic devices. There's been tactographics with 40 cells of Braille below it before. But this is the first device that really includes and encompasses both things in one device. And I think that that's so powerful. And I hope moving forward, we see more companies going this same route, because that's going to open the door for everyone. We don't want to have 5 different devices doing, you know, 2 or 3 things. And I think having a device like this, where you actually can see the tactographics, you have your books all on one device, is going to be great. And I'm excited to see. I know there are going to be challenges. There are going to be days where I probably go into the office and I hate my job because we didn't catch something. And that's, I take a lot of pride in, like, when I do testing at APH to try to catch as many bugs as we can. But obviously, people are going to be using this in ways that we hadn't thought of, and I think that that's going to be exciting as well. So the final thing I'll get into, just briefly on the technology side of it. So we are partnering with HumanWare. You probably heard me mention keyword earlier in the Braille note. So this device is made by HumanWare with APH, and we're using DOT incorporated out of South Korea's technology to sort of, that's the pen technology I was talking about. And so, and that kind of partnership has been great to work with those 2 companies. And we've gotten, and we're also partnering with NFB. So one of the things that we did is NFB actually has a Monarch, and they're giving us feedback along the way as well. So I think with those partners, this device is in good hands, and I'm excited to see it go out. You know, with field testing, we're starting this month, actually. We sent 40 units out Monday. We'll have the 200 I mentioned out by the end of January to everybody else. And I think that it's going to be revolutionary. And I don't often, get emotional about these kind of things, but like I said, when I've been spending time with this 18-year-old kid recently, and he doesn't know how to format things going into college, it's very concerning. Our kids deserve better, and we should be demanding and asking that they get better. And I think devices like this will help those shortcomings. And because he's a bright kid, and if he understood how the pages were laid out and how things were formatted, his life would be a lot easier. And teachers, teachers say, well, you can't see that, so it doesn't matter. But it does matter, because if he wants to get a job where he's writing and he doesn't know how to center or how to make a heading or why a heading is important, I don't know how you can really write and convey your message. So I guess, like, as I stand here in front of you all and with this device, I think that's what makes me the happiest, is that for the first time, you can't pick up the sad thing is you can't pick up those things with a 40 cell braille display. You just can't. You can't understand how formatting is laid out. And I myself didn't really know that until I started reading a book recently. So I think those things are super important. So I'm going to kick it over to you all for questions, because I could probably sit up here and talk about the device and all day long, but I want to get some just questions from you all if you have any. Go ahead. So the question, oh, go ahead, sorry. So the question is, will it support one-handed mode, and will it do other languages? The answer is yes. So we already are supporting other languages. We have all the UEB, Duxbury and LibLouis tables on here already for Braille. For speech, we have English and Spanish ready at this moment. And then for one-handed mode, we don't have that ready at this moment, but we are going to support it, just like all the devices from HumanWare already support it. So it will just be following that kind of typical standard. Hey, Lonnie. Yeah. So the question is, a teacher at school, how difficult is it for them to display a map or something like that for the student, or anything they want? So you have two options, Lonnie. You have the TGIL, which, let me stop with the TGIL for a second. So Tactile Graphics Image Library. I always get in the habit of throwing out acronyms because we just do it all the time. The blind community has all these acronyms. I don't know how we keep them all straight. O&M, TVI, right? So I forget that people are always hearing them. But the Tactile Graphics Image Library has, I've heard different numbers, anywhere between, let's just say, 10 to 17,000 images. And these are images done by transcribers. So the exciting thing about that is, though, it's open already to anyone. Anybody could actually have access to this library. The thing is, as a individual who's blind, like myself, I don't have an embosser, so I can't really use it. So this device is the first time I've really played around with it. But the exciting thing is we're going to be taking responses from feedbacks from students. So like if students start searching, because we can see what they're searching for, let's say like McDonald's. I searched for McDonald's today because I thought I could find an arch in there, but there was not. And there was nothing in there. But like if we see that query come across 1,000 times, let's just say, then we'll have a transcriber do it. But the thing is, Lonnie, back to your question, if let's say the thing isn't on the TGIL, so the Batman image I talked about earlier, you can go to Google, you can search for images, and you can pull an image from Google to this device. PDFs work at this point, in my opinion, the best. And there are going to be images that struggle. So depending on how much color the image has, is going to depend on how good that actually shows up. So I mentioned other displays earlier that do tactile graphics. There are some displays that have 4 or 5 different height levels of pins. They can actually show things like color. You know, you can kind of figure out how much, you know, colors in an image based off the pin heights. Ours, we have 2 heights, up and down. So it's going to be sort of like Atari style graphics for those who are old enough to know what an Atari is. Those who are not old enough to know what Atari is, it's just something really old. A video game that was really old, that system. And so the graphics are not like a 4K TV that you may hear your parents or friends talking about. It's not going to be that good, but it's going to be good enough that you're going to be able to feel like outlines. So to get back to your question, Lonnie, sorry, I keep going off track, but it's going to be fairly easy. They'll just be able to go out and get an image or search that library. And the other thing that they're going to be able to do is actually draw something on an app and move it over to the Monarch that way as well. So they'll actually be able to draw. So like if you have an O&M specialist, for example, this is our case in point for this. If they want to draw a map that you need to sort of learn ahead of time, they could draw that map and you could see it on the Monarch, just like they used to do with like yarn and pins and stuff like in my day. Yep. Go ahead. So we're actually going to sail 3rd quarter of next year. So my guess would be September, October-ish of next year. So next year's presentation, I'll probably not be, well, I may be talking about the Monarch, but it'll be for sale. And that's exciting stuff. Yep. Maybe the same time frame. Yeah, so the question is how much editing is needed on a Google image. So it depends on how much coloring there is. So if there's a lot of like color, it could be a little, so like black and white images work so much better. But if there's a lot of color, it may take a little bit more editing, where you kind of filter out that color, if you will. The other thing that we are going to have on here are filters. So you could actually run it through a filter and get things out the way you need to see. So like if you want to do like a black and white filter, it might show up better. So in my limited experience with this, it's not a lot actually. Things like people, that doesn't show up all that well. You can sort of feel like people's heads or like an arm, but like actually feeling a whole person doesn't really make a lot of sense to me at this point. It's hard to like visualize that. That's a great, so that was one of my first things, Lonnie, because I always wanted to know what print numbers were for elevators that don't have Braille. You know, how dare they? But there are some that don't. And so print letters and numbers actually show up really well. And one of the things that we thought about putting together that might still be on the roadmap is like a tutorial, like so you'd walk through and you could like feel a Braille letter and then have the print letter next to it. So you could sort of teach yourself, you know, the letters. So I wish I had a better answer for you than I do right now. So we don't have a actual real browser on this yet so I've looked at like some Word documents, but they're all using pretty much the same typical font. So I don't really have a great answer on that at this moment. That will be interesting to kind of see, like, does it pick up coloring? Does it pick up, you know, I know it's going to get the spacing, you know, that kind of, and that kind of stuff. But as far as actual different fonts, like, could you tell Arial versus something else? I'm not sure. That'll be I'll definitely if I find out once we get more into it, I definitely could reach out, or it's something I'm going to put on my radar to think about as well. Yeah, yeah. Our keyword is still, it's a work in progress because Humanware had to do a lot of, it's no fault of theirs. They've had to do a lot of work to it because on the Braille note, it's one line of text, right? Moving it to this, you now have 10 lines. And so they had to kind of figure out how to do Braille wrapping and a lot of extra work to make this fit the screen right. The other thing I have not mentioned, Lonnie was talking about teachers. And one thing worth mentioning here, I mentioned to you it has an HDMI, but that HDMI is very powerful in that you can hook this to a monitor. The teachers can actually see where your fingers are on the display. There's coloring that indicates what line you're actually on. And you can see print and Braille on the screen. So one problem we face, as you guys all might know, is TVIs sometimes don't know Braille. It's a sad state of affairs, but it's the truth of the matter. So how are they teaching folks Braille if they don't know it themselves? But now with this device, at least they know what the student's reading and can help. So I think that's a positive thing for the teachers as well. So the question was about coding and formatting. I missed a little bit of that, but is that that was your kind of about brackets and different things, right? Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. So I'll comment two things. So I'm learning Python myself right now for coding, and it is great to have, multiple line, because you can literally, so one of the things about Python, for folks who don't know, Python's a coding language. And one of the important things with that is it's very line specific. So if you make an error on line 9, your program's going to fail, and you have to find that error. On a 40 cell Braille display or using JAWS, it's kind of long because you're listening to a bunch of strings of text. And so what happens ultimately is you're going character by character with speech, or you're reading 40 cells at a time, right? So with this, you can actually see multiple lines of code at one time. And so I think for coders, it's going to be great because they're going to have the ability to kind of catch all of their formatting and all of their stuff at one point. The other thing to your point with coding is that, say you're designing a website, you're going to be able to pull that website up and actually look at the spacing and look at the formatting on this device. So it's something that like any web developer now doesn't have the access to do. So the fact that you could actually pull this up and see your website in real time and see how it's formatted will be powerful for a web developer. All right, so I'm going to stop talking here for a minute, and I'm going to let Willem, Sandra introduce our next person, and I will probably be back talking about one more product. So I thank you all so much for asking your questions, and if you have any other questions, I'll be at the table with the Monarch. You can get your hands on it today as well.
Wow, what a presentation. And isn't this a grand start for our NFBK 2023 convention? Because with technology like that, we are truly changing what it means to be blind so that young blind children growing up now can live the lives they want. Okay, now we're going to hear from a representative from OCO. Now, OCO is an application by which one can get information about their environment in real time. I'm going to say, and I'm sure our presenter will say, this is not a substitute for orientation and mobility training, not a substitute, but an enhancement. So I'm going to turn it over to our OCO representative, and we will be hearing from them on Zoom.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope that everyone can hear me just fine. I'm actually here today together with Seth Wilson. He's our product manager at OCO and a true fan of the application himself too. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about the OCO app. I'm going to start off with how we started, what the OCO app does, and then finally I'm going to share some details on maybe best practices about the OCO app. And then afterwards we have a Q&A where I think it's very valuable that Seth is here as well, so that he can answer some of the questions during the Q&A. So maybe a quick intro. Myself, I'm Willem. I'm from Belgium, where we speak Dutch. So it's a very Dutch name, but you can also call me William if you like. The ICE team is growing quite fast. We actually are a team of 7 now, with 3 people in the US, Seth amongst them, Michael and Lee as well. All 3 are users of the OCO app, so super glad to have everyone on the team. But the story started roughly 2 years ago with a mutual friend of ours called Kenny, who is fully blind himself. He told us that during COVID, it was harder to know whether the pedestrian signal was on or not to safely cross. That was for several reasons. 1, there was less people driving on the road, and 2, there was less people walking on the road or on the sidewalk to ask for help when crossing the street. That's of course because of COVID reasons, but he found like, isn't there something that can help me with safely crossing the street? So that's what we set out to create as AI engineers. We figured, hey, if a Tesla can do it, why can't we? It sounds a bit arrogant, but hey, it's what set us out on this path, so I'm glad to be here. So we started out with an application that uses the back camera of the phone to use very complex artificial intelligence to then recognize the pedestrian signal and inform the user with vibrations, sounds, and a visual indication whether the walk sign, don't walk sign, or countdown signal is on. The fact that we use sounds, vibrations, and a visual overlay means that we can help out a broad range of people. For example, if you have some hearing difficulties, it's very nice that you get the extra vibrations as well. I've spoken to a few O&Ms that actually use the OCO application with some deafblind students as well. The OCO app, it's a very unique app in the sense that because it uses artificial intelligence to recognize the don't walk signal, the walk signal, and the countdown. So that means the red hand, the white walking man, and then the red hand with seconds next to it. It doesn't rely on any physical adaptations. So that means that we don't need an APS to be installed. We don't need any Bluetooth beacons or other kinds of things. We just need the physical installation of the pedestrian signal to be there. So we're just looking at a pedestrian signal similar to how a sighted person looks at that pedestrian signal, and then bringing that information back to you. Furthermore, we've taken it one step further and we've optimized our algorithms so that you can run the OCO application in airplane mode if you like. I don't know why you would do that, but the reason that we have optimized it so that it runs offline is that it will be as fast each time. So for example, if you're at a center downtown where there's a lower cellular connection or something, the OCO application will respond as fast each time. And that speed is actually very important. We always recommend to hold up the phone against your chest with the back camera pointing outwards. The moment that you line up correctly with that pedestrian signal means that you're also correctly lined up to start crossing that intersection. So if, for example, there would be a delay on detection, that means that, of course, it would be harder to know when exactly you're pinpointing or pointing correctly at that pedestrian signal. Again, we don't rely on any APSs, physical hardware, adaptations, all of these things to be installed. We only need a pedestrian signal. That does mean that we don't work on, for example, car traffic lights just yet. We work on intersections where the pedestrian signal is installed. And we're quite happy to say that we launched in the US about 5 months ago, and it's growing quite rapidly amongst the US, where we've already helped cross more than 300,000 streets with the Oko app. Quite an amazing number. Globally, we're up to 1 million. So also quite amazing to see all of the people adopting the Oko application. And it's truly amazing to see the feedback that we're getting as well. So for example, I was talking to a user in, he's Jeffrey, he's from Denver, Colorado. And he was unfortunately hit by an SUV in 2011 when he was crossing the street because he made the wrong decision to start crossing. And he says that he was paranoid ever since that day to cross streets. And now Oko is a perfect confidence booster. And he finds it an absolute game changer for his safety. It's, again, as stated, we're just trying to be an extra tool in the toolbox. We're trying to provide more information to the user. We're not a replacement of your O&M training skills. We're just giving you more information. Maybe a bit more on how to use Oko. What are some of the best practices? So we closely work together with blind and visually impaired people. Seth, Michael, Lee, all of them amongst them. Seth is one of the few people that has a benefit to try out all of the newest version of the Oko app before it even launches. And that's because we want to create a product that works for everyone and it's very simple to use. So the moment that you open up the Oko app, there's no actions that you need to do. It instantly starts working. And there you can just hold up the phone against your chest with the back camera pointing outwards. And the moment that we see a pedestrian signal, we will inform you with vibrations, sounds, and a visual overlay of the status of that pedestrian signal. Why would you hold it up against the chest? That's because that's a very stable position. You also know where the camera is with respect to your body. And that also means that you'll be lined up correctly the moment that you start getting information back. Some people also kind of have a tremor that when they're holding up the phone, it might be shaking. So that's why holding it against the chest is a stable position. You can also use a lanyard case, if you like, where you can just let the phone hang loose. That way you can just let the phone hang loose and detect all of these traffic lights. And that can actually help when, for example, you are crossing the street. So we know that the moment that we're aiming correctly at the pedestrian signal, we get an extra sense of orientation. The same can be said for crossing the streets. The moment that you start veering off into traffic, the Oko application will no longer see the pedestrian signal. And that means that you get a feeling like, hey, now I've veered off because I'm no longer getting feedback from my application. And that means that I need to reorient to start heading back in the right direction. But how do you know where to start pointing at in the first instance, the moment that you arrive at the intersection? So let's put ourselves at that intersection. Let's imagine if we have our parallel flow of traffic at our left, we take out the Oko app. You can do so just by tapping the icon or even saying, hey Siri, open Oko. Oh, my phone is already opening it up. You can just hold up the phone against your chest. You start by scanning from the right towards the left, because remember, the parallel flow of traffic is at our left. The moment that we correctly pick up that pedestrian signal, the Oko app will react instantaneously. And you also know, okay, now I'm lined up correctly. So that's kind of like a mental ID that you can have inside your head to start scanning with your Oko application. Again, it's up to you if you want to keep using it while you're crossing to get that extra sense of orientation for veering off. Some people find it distracting. Others really like that extra feedback of orientation. That's fully up to you. the Oko application is a free app to download. And we are currently on iOS, iPhone 8 and up. We're not on Android yet. The reason for that is because, as mentioned, everything runs locally on the phone. And that's very, very important to get that extra feedback of orientation. And it's harder to know, okay, on these and these Android devices, the Oko application will work as smoothly as on other iPhone devices. So that's why currently the focus is on iPhones. It doesn't mean that we're never coming to Android, just the focus now is still on iOS. Okay, that's a bit the Oko application. Might be that I'm forgetting something, but I'm sure it will come up during Q&A. And otherwise, Seth, feel free to add something if you like.
I think you nailed it.
So much as oh, gotcha. Not really a question so much as an answer to a question you posited. Why use Oko on airplane mode? Well, I was in Iceland in May, so my phone was always on airplane mode to avoid costly international calls. So airplane mode and Oko would have been great.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a use case I'd never thought of. But yeah, avoid roaming fees. That's we'll have to add that to the marketing.
We got another question.
Can you use Oko in a case, in a phone case with a clear back where it hangs on your chest?
I would say yes, as long as, and this applies even without a case or in general, as long as the case is, the camera, the case is clear enough to give the camera good visibility to process what the traffic signal. So making sure the case is clean and again, this applies to your camera too, like making sure there's no, smudges or debris or anything on your phone's camera is important to making sure that the app works properly. But as long as that's the case, I think it should work fine.
It's a great app. I've been using it for a couple months off and on, and I have some vision, and it's even helped my confidence. Because being in a downtown area, you can't always trust what traffic you're hearing is where you think it is, because there's multiple streets in the area. So it's really helped.
That's great to hear. And I by the way, I have optic nerve hypoplasia. This is Seth, by the way, and so I use the app in the same way it sounds like you do, and that I have some vision. I'm okay at street crossings, but I'm often just not fully confident that is it safe to cross. So it's just again, not a replacement for my cane skills, but just another data point, so to speak, and like, hey, just more information about, okay, I'm hearing my parallel traffic, and this nifty app is also telling me that the pedestrian signal is showing the white walking man. So between those pieces of information, I have now more confidence that it is in fact safe to cross the street. So yeah, that's wonderful.
Maybe a fun little anecdote. The Oko application is called OKO, and we have it in capital letters. And I was talking to someone in Raleigh, and she told me, well, actually, the reason that a lot of people call it OKO is because it's in capital letters, and so everyone just thinks it's like FBI. So OKO.
I love that.
I have a question.
how do you know when the cross signal you're working with, it has the countdown, to how many seconds that you have the opportunity to get across the street? How does your app convey that information?
So it conveys it in a couple of ways. It it will kind of the pitch of the beeping will change, so it'll kind of do a rising beep to indicate that the countdown has started. The rhythm of the haptic feedback will also change accordingly, so your phone will start to vibrate in a kind of irregular pattern to indicate that's happening. And finally, for those of us with a little bit of low vision, the screen will indicate yellow to indicate that the countdown has started. So yeah, it's easily distinguishable from the either walk or don't walk indicators.
Maybe to add to that, we don't recognize the amount of seconds left to
Right.
cross. We just bring back the fact that it's in that status. So we know from our O&M, right, that we should always wait a cycle until it's fully the walk sign again. So we're just providing you the information that the signal has changed from walk to countdown, but we're not providing the amount of seconds that are left to cross.
Right, that's a good call out.
Thank you. I have two questions. One, if someone is using OCO when they begin to cross a street that is not a plus or cross intersection, cross shaped, in other words, it's an angled intersection, it seems to me that OCO might be helpful in getting lined up for the angle at which you need to cross, because seeing where the signal is would give you that cue. Is that correct?
Definitely. In fact, that's kind of one strategy that I recommend when using the app is, let's say you're approaching an intersection and you know that your parallel street is on your right. So, holding the phone against your chest, as Willem suggested, and then kind of starting to rotate your body from left to right, so that you know that the first beeping sound you hear will be in fact the correct intersection that you're trying to cross. So yeah, it is very helpful for lining up in all sorts of situations like that.
Thank you. Also, when you talk about OCO, do you also make it, okay, let me make this a statement. I think it's really important to make a case for using the PED call button on that are controlled, Otherwise,
Yes.
you don't get the full time cycle when the, actually, maybe the doesn't even come on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that here I live in East Texas, and in some of the intersections here, the pedestrian signal doesn't even really activate until that PED call button, or I also seen it called a beg button, is pressed. So that's a really good point, that pressing that button is vital to making sure the signal comes on, and also, as you said, possibly adding more time, because I think there are lights that hey, if there are no pedestrians crossing, we cycle more quickly, but if there are pedestrians crossing, we cycle more slowly. Obviously, those are bigger, like, societal and city planning issues than we deal with, but we're definitely aware of all those things. So thank you for that.
Hi, hello again. One of the reasons this helps in downtown Louisville is they have increased the time pedestrians have to get across and shorten the time the drivers have. So there's not always parallel traffic to judge with. So
Right.
I have noticed that the walk signal will have changed, but there's no cross traffic. And so if you wait for the cross traffic, you're not going to have as much time as they're wanting you to have.
Yeah, I totally agree with that statement. It's among my sighted friends, they assume sometimes that busy streets are more stressful or more dangerous for me when in fact it's, the opposite, having a good traffic flow both directions helps convey more information to me. So streets where, yeah, like for whatever reason, there's not a lot of traffic. It's times like that in particular that OCO helps give me more confidence that, okay, the light is indicating that the walk signal's on, even though I'm not hearing any parallel traffic. That information helps me cross with more confidence.
Hi, I had a question. I was playing with the OCO app, and one of the things I couldn't figure out, because I'm deafblind and I have hearing aids, like I would rather just use the haptic feedback and not the sound, because the sound is going directly into my hearing aids and I'm trying to also listen to traffic. Is there a way to like turn like to pick whether you have like haptics or sound or both or whatever enabled?
Yes, so there is in the upper right hand corner of the app, and I'm opening up actually so I don't have the app because I was uninstalling and reinstalling it for some testing, but there is a settings feature in the upper right corner of the app, and if you go into that, one of the settings options is audio, and then if you then go into the audio settings, you can turn the beeping entirely out. You can turn verbal feedback off.
So it looks like that's about it as for questions here.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much. Those are awesome questions and comments, and appreciate the support.
Yeah, exactly. As Seth says, thanks again. Thanks a million, guys, for the time. And if you like the OCO app, feel free to leave a review in the App Store. It really helps out young app builders like ourselves.
All right. What an awesome presentation. And thank you so much for tuning in from your side of the world. Okay, we are now going to hear from two people that we know and respect in this organization and in many other places around the state of Kentucky. Do you like magazines? Do you want to read the newspaper without a bunch of ads everywhere? Interested in grocery shopping and what's on sale? I'm so glad eggs are not as high as they were. So if you are interested in all of that, you will definitely enjoy our next presentation, which will be given by Todd and Laura Stevens. While they are presenting, though, if I could see Ashley Swafford in the front to whisper in my ear, and we won't interrupt that presentation. But if I could see you up here, Ashley, with me, I'm going to turn this over to Todd and Laura, and they are going to talk to you all about Newsline. If you don't have it, you want it, and you need it.
Good morning.
Laura's. Can you all hear me? Okay. All right. I'm Todd Stevens, and I'm the state coordinator for NFB Newsline in Kentucky, and have been so for about 9 years. Laura retired from a 27-year teaching career last year, and she has joined me with managing the service here in Kentucky. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura to get us started.
Okay, so am I coming through?
I feel like I need to eat the microphone and I really don't want to do that.
Here, do you want to talk about this one?
No, I think I'm good. I'm good. Okay. First of all, for those of you who are not familiar with Newsline, NFB Newsline, we want to just give a little bit of an overview of what this service is. And then also for those of you who are NFB Newsline users, we have a special activity this year called the NFB Newsline Scavenger Hunt. And I've kind of caught a few people as they walk in the door. I'd sent out a few emails about that was going to be taking place, and there's questions that you need to answer. So anyway, I'm hoping that some of you will choose to participate in that if you have access to Newsline on your phones. Anyway, if you want to do that, I am at the back of the room at the table where you came in and got your bracelets for lunch. And I've got the scavenger hunt information back there. But let's talk a little bit about what NFB Newsline actually is. NFB Newsline is an audio reading service for people with print disabilities, and it gives you the opportunity to read magazines, newspapers, publications that are local to Kentucky, national publications, international publications, as well as numerous magazines of interest, as well as the service offers TV listings. So if you want to find out what you want to watch on TV tonight, that is available. Weather alerts are available. That's kind of a neat service. I know, most of you have your weather app on your iPhone, but if you pull up the NFB Newsline app on your phone, then it gives you very detailed AccuWeather information, much more than what you get on your weather app on your phone. So that's something that's a really neat part of NFB Newsline as well. One thing that I like to read on NFB Newsline, I have a friend who lives in New Zealand. The New Zealand Herald is on Newsline, so sometimes I pull that up, see what's going on. Another kind of neat thing is reading the news about the United States on Newsline from another country, from their perspective. So that's something that's kind of fun that I enjoy doing. There are 4 different ways that you can access the service. The old way to do it, and some of us actually still have landline phones. I know they're not nearly as popular now, but Todd and I are old, so we like our landline
You
phone.
speak for yourself.
Well, this is our argument. He actually is older than me, but he says he's not. So anyway, there's the touch tone option where you dial in to the service. You can access it through an iOS app on your iPhone or your iPad. You can use an Alexa smart speaker, or if you're old fashioned as well and you just want to go online on the internet, you can read the information just on your computer. There is a relatively new feature of NFB Newsline called the Kids Reading Corner. There are several publications that are just for kids. There's a publication called Catster, Dogster. I think that's pretty explanatory what those are about. The Highlights magazines, I don't know if any of you, when you were kids, had some vision, you'd be in a doctor's office and the Highlights magazines would be there. I remember those from being a kid. Highlights is on there, Stone Soup. So that's neat for our, for our students. Joe was talking about students earlier and then having access to Braille and so many new things with the Monarch, but Newsline can also offer some new opportunities for kids. I know one of our students in our Bell program this summer, when I showed him NFB Newsline on the e-reader from the Talking Book Library and had him going through the list of publications, he's like, Highlights. He's like, wow, that's a magazine that my brother gets. So it was neat that, he recognized that and, was kind of exciting about being able to read that.
Let me just jump in, Laura, real quickly and mention that NFB Newsline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's absolutely free for people who have print impairment, who qualify under that exemption. So the other thing that I think is valuable on the NFB Newsline service is our job listings. We have USA .gov. That's a federal job listings, and we also have Career Builder. So it's very intuitive. The platform is, and you're able to get through the different listings without any pop-up ads or any interruptions. So for those who are not subscribed to the service, Laura and I will be available to speak with you at our table.
Absolutely. If you are not subscribed to NFB Newsline, you can see me after lunch during our exhibit time, and I will take your information. We can get you signed up. It's like Todd said, it's an easy service to use. If you use the dial-up phone, it's just completely menu driven, just like anywhere else you call. Press 1 if you want this information, press 2 if you want this. So the app, you just go to the app store, download NFB Newsline, and you have to specify NFB Newsline, or lots of other Newsline things will come up. When you register, you get access codes, a 6-digit code, a 4-digit code. You put that information in, and the system remembers you. So then you forget your codes, and then you have to call Todd and I when you get a new phone and you need to install it again. So that kind of happens, but that's what we're here for. We can help with technical support as well.
Does anyone know how many publications are on the NFB Newsline service at present? Or is that one of the questions in the scavenger hunt?
Well, we can see if anybody knows.
Yeah. Anybody? No? It is. It's 577. 577. So we are really growing and continue to grow. And the one thing about NFB Newsline is the platform is not going to change because it was developed by blind people, and it is monitored by blind people. And so we understand how we want to receive information, and the people that are running the project at the NFB Newsline headquarters at the NFB Center in Baltimore, Maryland, over the last 20 years have kept the platform intact. And so as we've noticed the changes in technology in general, there hasn't been a whole lot of changes in the way that we interface with the Newsline system. We want to make sure that everyone has access to the information, that it's as intuitive as possible.
And for here in Kentucky, we have the Louisville Courier Journal, the Lexington Herald, the Bowling Green paper, Paducah, Owensboro, Maysville Ledger, Corbin
Times, the New Era Independent.
Yeah, we should be able to remember. We should be able to rattle these off, shouldn't we? But
Sun. So there's a lot of content,
it's we just it's something that we can all take advantage of. And And the thing that it is you can have access to whenever you want. We are actually, Sean and I we've been collaborating with a Radio Reading Eye. We went over and had a meeting with them several months ago, and and they have a lot of good information too. But when you use Radio Reading Eye, they have readers that read live, but they are reading on a certain topic at a time. But with NFB Newsline, you can get to the information that you want when you want, and it's not on a set schedule. You can have it in your hands at the time when you need the information. So that's something that makes NFB Newsline different. But you can also, if you want to listen to Radio Reading Eye, their stream is also available on NFB Newsline.
And we're also collaborating with them to bring more ads because that's something that our service does not do as well as a lot of people would like us to provide that information to them. Radio Eye does it exceptionally well. So that's something that we're in collaboration with, and hopefully we'll have that to you real soon.
Does anybody have any questions about this service? And like I said, I'm going to be at the Newsline table during exhibits. I'd love to come talk to any of you guys. If you're not signed up for this service, come see me. I'll take down your information. We'll get you signed up. And like I said as well, hope that you guys will participate in the scavenger hunt for the first 5 people who have answers to all of the questions. Then come to me and you will get a prize. Yes, Avery. NFB Newsline is available to anybody who has a print disability. Oh, if you some people who have who struggle to read with dyslexia or like another reading disability, some people may have difficulty holding a newspaper or a book and turning the pages if they have difficulties using their hands. Yeah, fine motor skills. Thank you. So any of those types of disabilities would qualify you for the NFB Newsline service. Yes, the HumanWare devices, the HumanWare Braille displays, and the Victor Stream, the Mantis, the Chameleon. If you, I think those, the Mantis, and okay. If you go into online services on the devices, and NFB Newsline should show up, and then you need your 6-digit code and your 4-digit code, and you input those codes into the device. And then once you go onto the NFB Newsline, give me the website for the NFB News. It's NFB Newsline in your pocket, and you set up your favorites. Then you.
Yeah, the website is.
I think is it NFB Newsline online.
NFB Newsline online.org.
And you set up your favorites, the publications, and then they will automatically be downloaded onto your Braille display or your Victor Stream. I do not, I don't know. As far as I know, they don't.
As far as I know, it's just HumanWare and APH.
Yes, Lonnie. Yes. Another feature on the iOS app is NFB Reader Basic. There's actually on the iOS app, there's actually 4 screens, you know, 4 different 4 tabs, I guess is the better word. Like your favorites tab, the listings, there's a settings, but then the 4th tab is the KNFB reader, where you can actually use the camera and read text. It's kind of like it's KNFB Reader Lite. So that is actually a part of the app, the iOS app.
All right. Thank you, Todd and Laura. If you don't have it, look it up on that app store. Go to it online. And I am an Alexa addict. My name is Sandra. I am an Alexa addict, and I do my Newsline on my device. All right. If I might have anyone who is a vendor, please come up here and stand on my right, your left. Just line up at this table along the front, and you will get an opportunity to say who you are, who you represent, what company, and what you are going to show us today. Then you will be, I hope Ashley has spoken to all of you to tell you where you will be displaying your wares, so that all of us can come take a look and ask you questions. Just someone tell me when you're all up here so I can pass this on. Once we have heard from our vendors, Ashley is going to come up here. She doesn't know this. Ashley, you're going to please come up here and explain to us how we're going to do lunch. The TAD table will be available. The Newsline table I know will be available. So is everyone up here yet?
Let's introduce our national rep.
Oh, our national rep. Yes, he's in the room. Yes, Everett Bacon. He is our national representative, and for, huh?
Our president, Jane Sykes.
Oh, and our president, she's in the room too. I heard her ask a question. So we want to definitely recognize them for taking that time out to come here and participate in these opening symposium for our convention. So welcome, Everett. And we will definitely be hearing from him during this convention. So is everybody up here?
Everett, did you have a few?
Do you have anything, any words you'd like to say? Miss?
Hold on just a second, Dan.
Where's Everett? Hey. You still
Thank you. Madam President, did you have any words that you want to say to the crowd?
right out of my notes.
Yay, yay. We can move.
Hello, I'm Ashley Swafford, the NFB GL president. After our speakers are done introducing themselves, we will start lunch. The plan is that you won't have to move. I have individuals who will bring you your lunch as long as you are wearing a wristband. Thank you.
Where can I get a wristband? I don't seem to
You
have
don't
one.
get a lunch. I didn't tell you that.
I know. I said no lunch, no band, and here I am. Okay, who's over there? Who are the people? Joe? You're gonna be first.
I'm gonna step over to.
I'm just gonna,
Okay.
and then you pass the mic.
No, I passed the-
on
okay.
that side,
All right.
okay?
Hi, Joe Hodge here with APH. So at my table will be the Monarch. So I'd love to have you guys stop by. We can put some images up, show you some full page braille, whatever you want to see. So I'll be up here at a table. Just come looking for me.
Hi, I'm Danielle Burton. I'm the communication director for TAD. I will be at the TAD table. Myself and Scott Spotting will be there. If you have any, if you have devices that you need help troubleshooting, we can help you with that. We also have raffle tickets at our table for our lovely TAD raffle. It is $2 for one ticket and 3 tickets for $5. And I also have a Braille Teach device, which is a neat little toy to teach you Braille, and it's a little tiny toy. So, and I will be showing that as well. And that's what we have at our table.
Corey Markham. I'm the division director for Kentucky Business Enterprise, which is the blind vendor program, and we'll be up here to introduce anybody to in the state if anybody's interested and looks for more information.
Can you hear me now? Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Jason. Jason Wath, the Kentucky Business Enterprise Assistant Program Director. As Corey Markham just said, we'll be discussing what we bring to the table as far as our vendor program and food services program. So come see us.
We need a recap, Danielle.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work.
hear
for me.
you.
Of course, the duck one, nobody hears. All right. Does this work? Can you hear me now?
No, not really.
Why don't you come up here, Danielle? This mic
No,
is
I
a little stronger.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, I can hear myself, but I can't. Okay. Can you hear now?
With the mic.
Okay, let's try this again. This is what happens when deaf people don't know that nobody heard. All right. I am the communication director for TAD, and I will be at the TAD table with Scott Spalding. If you have devices that need some help with troubleshooting, or you have a question about your device or a question, we will do our best to answer them. And I will also have the TAD raffle tickets with me. It is $2 for one ticket and 3 tickets for $5. And I will also have a neat new toy by Horizon next called the Braille Teach device. It is tiny, fits in the palm of your hand, and it is audio, and it has several Braille games that I can show you as well. So
Regarding the raffle, as Sandra said earlier, that is an Echo Show, plus $100, coupled together.
Hi, this is Melanie Pesco, and I am here representing Accessible Pharmacy today. And I'll be able to chat with you about it and show you some sample products that they have, some of the sample packaging.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Maggie. I am a nurse educator with Vanda. I've seen so many faces, familiar faces, so thank you for having me. I will have a table back here for anyone who is interested in learning about 924 sleep disorder. If you're having sleep issues, if you eat lunch and fall asleep, come see me right after. Just saying, just saying. I have free brochures and handouts, so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in a little bit. So I'm going to pass it on to Diane.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, hi, my name is Diane Ducharme, and I'm the Senior Program Manager for Blind Shell USA. And I am going to later on tell you all about the Blind Shell Classic 2 accessible cell phone. And I really hope you don't fall asleep after lunch, because that's what I'm going to tell you about the Blind Shell.
Thank you. Anybody else? Did everybody speak?
Where's the other folks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think that's it.
Welcome to all of our vendors.
Okay.
Okay. I would say, I'd say let the vendors get their table set up.